As the Battle for Winterfell approaches, I will break down the 5 characters who I think are most likely to die in the next episode of Game of Thrones. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
It's a me,
Dario!
Woohoo! Let's go!
I'm really eager to get this started, so let me get this out of the way real quick. Just a big reminder that the podcast is now officially on iTunes, so please subscribe there. You can easily find it by typing in Super Dario World Podcast in the iTunes Store search bar. You can also rate it there. Still 5 stars, baby. Still a perfect rating. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Again, thank you everybody for your support and your kind words. You have no idea how much it means to me to hear that. It's like I finally understand the Bullwinkle thing. Like, they like me. They really like me. Anyway, you can also find the podcast on YouTube and on SoundCloud. Still not on the iHeartRadio app yet. I don't know why. I mean, I freaking work for the company, but whatever. As always, please add me on social media. You can find me on Instagram at Dario the Show. You can always contact me there with any comments, questions, or suggestions. The feedback is still amazing. Like I said, I appreciate all the kind words and the great ideas. I love implementing them. If you want to hear me go off on something, give me the topic. If I have something to say, I'll probably say it. Like today's topic came from somebody asking me if I've heard the rumors of 5 characters dying on the next episode of Game of Thrones. So I decided, you know what? I think I can guess who they're going to be. And also, it came from a mix of that and people wanting me to get deeper on Game of Thrones. I don't know why people enjoy hearing me lose my shit, but I guess it's a thing. I mean, I'll keep doing it. I'm not putting it on, people. Let me tell you something. When it comes to Game of Thrones, I'm not putting it on. I'm legitimately upset. I wish I wasn't, but I am. But anyway, okay. All right, that's enough for the intro. I think I can save this for the actual content, but okay.
Let the battle begin!
So a quick reminder for everyone. What do we say to the God of Death? Not today. Does anybody else miss Syrio? I miss Syrio. For those of you who don't remember, if you don't remember, I guess you don't miss him, but whatever. That was Arya's water dancing instructor. Yes. The guy who taught her how to use needle, basically. But anyway, this Sunday, episode 3 of the last season of Game of Thrones will be aired, and it is expected to be the longest episode of the series, and it is also expected to include the longest consecutive battle sequence in cinema and television history. The longest since, I believe it's the Battle of Helm's Deep in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So, this might be the most epic episodes of one of the most epic TV shows of all time. So, the episode is supposedly going to be over 80 minutes long, and the fight sequence is going to be around 40, maybe a little bit more. So, that means that half the episode should be the battle. The battle is right now being called the Battle of Winterfell. It's when the armies of the White Walkers will clash against pretty much all our heroes in Winterfell. So, as you can imagine, a lot can happen in a 40-minute battle, and speculation has it, the rumors say, the rumor mill on the internet says that at least 5 characters are going to die, at least. So I decided, you know what, let's try to see the odds of each character dying. But before I get to that, before I get to each and every character's odds, because I'm going to go through all of them, at least the ones that are in Winterfell, before I get to that, I just need to get this out of the way. I need to get that out of my system, because a lot of people have been saying, hey, Dario, why are you so upset over nothing happening in the first 2 episodes? They're saving the budget for the big battle sequence. You know that. You know they're saving all the money for the big dragon fight and for the zombies and everything. They're saving the money for it. So they had to save it on those first few episodes. They couldn't waste it there. They were building it up. The first 2 episodes were building it up. You're saying nothing happened, but they were saving the money and they showed us some interesting stuff. No. The reason why I'm complaining is that you could have shown us the exact same characters in the exact same locations, but actually doing something interesting for the exact same amount of money. Because the actors are getting paid no matter what. If you change their lines, they're still going to get paid the same. So don't come at me with that shit. I'm still upset, but I'm hopeful. I want to see what they do. If they were saving everything for this one, fine. I will wait and see before I criticize. So again, I am an optimistic fool. I'm an optimistic fool. It hurt me. That came from a deep place. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. So, what are the odds of each character dying? So let's get some of them out of the way. the ones that I think there's no chance in hell they're killing off halfway through the last season of Game of Thrones. And these are known as the Big Five. Online, they're known as the Big Five from Game of Thrones because they're the 5 highest paid actors. So there's no way that you're getting rid of your highest paid actors before the season's done. No chance in hell. I don't believe it. Those are Tyrion, Cersei, Jaime, Jon Snow, and Daenerys Targaryen. So you got the 3 Lannisters. Cersei's not there, so she's pretty much safe. Plus Daenerys Targaryen and Jon Snow, who is technically Aegon Targaryen. So basically the Targaryens and the Lannisters are safe because they're the highest paid in the show. They're not getting rid of them. I don't believe it. So I'm immediately eliminating them. They're out of here. They're not. Their chances of dying are 0, even though Jon is technically dead. But I don't think they're going to die. But we can go a little bit deeper into that because that's just money. That's outside of the show. The reasons why inside the show I don't think it's going to happen. Let's break them down a little bit. So Cersei, again, not there. She can't die in Winterfell because she's not in Winterfell. Easy. Tyrion, I don't know if you guys remember, but pretty much the last episode was spent with everybody sucking Tyrion's dick and complimenting his mind, his brilliant mind. I don't know why everybody forgot, but Tyrion's been a huge, huge failure. In fact, since he killed his father and his girlfriend, his life's been pretty much a huge failure. Let's go through it real quick. He was captured by Jorah. Then they were both captured by slavers, but they were rescued by Daenerys, and Daenerys made him her hand for some reason. Then after Daenerys was gone, he made a deal in Meereen that ended up in Yunkai invading Meereen, and they were getting the shit kicked out of them until Daenerys came with the dragon and the Dothraki and saved them pretty much. Then they went to Westeros, they had Dragonstone, and instead of taking King's Landing that was literally across the bay from them, he decided to go and take Casterly Rock, and that plan cost them the Greyjoy fleet, it cost them the Dornish armies, it cost them the Tyrell armies, and when they took Casterly Rock, it turns out it was a trap, and then he devised the plan to go up north to get Zombie to bring back to Cersei so that they could make peace, but that plan ended up costing them a dragon, and the Zombie didn't really convince Cersei anyway. Then Tyrion believed that Cersei was going to help them out in the war, and then everybody said, "You're an idiot." But he believed them. It turns out that Cersei betrayed him, so that was another failure. So losing a dragon was for nothing. All the plan of going north was for nothing. So pretty much half of the last season was for nothing, and it was all because of Tyrion. So what brilliant mind exactly? I don't remember. But the point is, everybody at last episode sucked Tyrion's dick. They praised his brilliant mind. So now the writers are probably setting up that Tyrion is going to make a grand plan that's going to save everybody. So the odds of him dying are minimal, especially because he's going to be in the crypts. Now, Jaime, things get a little bit dicey because if he's on the front lines, I don't see how he can survive because he doesn't have a hand. But then again, he's already fallen into a river wearing full metal armor and he didn't sink. So, whatever. Logic doesn't matter anymore. The point is, I think if Jaime were commanding the armies, it would make a little bit more sense for him surviving. But in the front lines, I don't see him making it. The only reason, besides the money, that I think that Jaime Lannister is not going to get killed is because they need to reunite him with Cersei again. They need to close that cycle. I've said this plenty of times. I don't know if I've said it in the podcast, but I think I mentioned it before. Game of Thrones works best when they're doing something that the viewer doesn't want. Okay? Think back to season 1. The death of Ned Stark. Nobody wanted it. The death of Drogo. Nobody wanted it. The Red Wedding. Nobody wanted it. The death of the Red Viper. Nobody wanted it. Everybody wanted Tyrion to get saved. So Game of Thrones is at its best when it's not giving the audience what they want. However, in the last seasons, it's been pretty much giving the audience exactly what they want. So I think that the plot they've created now dictates that Jaime's story has to end somehow with Cersei. And he's probably the one that's going to take out Cersei. If I have to guess, it's going to end with him closing the cycle with Cersei, and maybe it'll be like a murder-suicide. I don't know. I hope not, because Jaime's story has mostly been about redemption up to a point. So I think that's what the plot now dictates. So I think he's going to survive until he meets up with Cersei again. That's just a guess, but I think that's how it's going to go. It's too early for him to die. So Jon Snow and Daenerys, I'm going to kind of keep together because it's pretty much the same reason. And that's if you kill them, then one of the major storylines of this season is done. It will make no sense. So far, unless I missed it, there's like 3 big storylines so far. The War for the Iron Throne, which is against Cersei. Survival against the Night King, which should happen in this episode. And the whole Aegon Targaryen Daenerys Targaryen fight for the throne. That's it. Those are the 3 main conflicts. 2 of them have been building up throughout the show. That's Cersei and the Night King. The last one is pretty much an issue of this season and this season only. So if they kill either of them, they're killing the only conflict they've created this season. So it would continue to make this whole season pointless. It already kind of is, but it would continue to make it would make it even more obvious. So I doubt that they're going to kill either of them just for that reason alone. So okay, those are the big 5 untouchables, at least in my mind. And so let's move on to the ones that actually have a shot of meeting the God of Death on Sunday. And let's start with a bonus, because I'm not counting this one as one of the 5 that gets killed, but I think that this will be his final episode, and that, unfortunately, is my boy Ghost. I think this will be Ghost's final episode. Like I mentioned on The Good, the Bad, and the Martin, that's the review I do on Mondays, I mentioned that they only brought him back for one episode to remind you, like, hey, that's right, Jon has a ghost, and in the next episode, he's going to die. So this is the next episode, and there's going to be a battle, and so I think this is where Ghost gets it. I don't see him surviving this one, mainly because of the budget. They're saving all the budget for the dragons and the zombies, so he's probably going to get it. But again, I'm not counting him as one of the 5 because he hasn't appeared in the show in over 2 seasons when he could have been the most useful. So I think, sadly, this is where he gets put down. But anyway, let's move on. And let's start with House Stark. You know, we're in Winterfell. Let's start with House Stark. Let's start with the Lady of Winterfell, Sansa. Now, Sansa should not be part of the fighting because she's not a fighter. Theoretically, she should be in the crypts hiding with everybody because, well, that's where all the women and children are. That's what's the safest part, right? Which, by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're being invaded by an army of the undead led by necromancers, would you want to hide in a cemetery? Because that's what the crypts are. You're underground with a whole bunch of dead people. But anyway, if you had asked me last season who was the biggest danger to Sansa, I would have said Arya, because she, threatened to kill her and cut off her face and pretend to be her. But I guess both of them buried that hatchet along with Littlefinger, so, you always forget when your siblings threaten to cut off your face and pretend to be you. Anyway, Sansa should be safe. The only reason why she wouldn't be safe is because for some reason she feels affection for Theon. I guess because they were both tormented by the same guy. So maybe if she hears that there's going to be an issue with Bran and Theon, she might think she can go out and help. I don't see how. I don't think she should. So I think Sansa's going to be safe. Odds of her dying, less than 10%. There's a less than 10% chance of her dying unless she becomes extremely stupid for some reason. So if she's safe, let's move on to her sister. What is Arya going to do in the battle? Well, now she has a Valyrian steel dagger and what do you call it? A dual-bladed spear? Dual-bladed bow staff? I don't know. The point is she's Darth Maul now, apparently. So one of the rules of film is that if you show a gun, it must be shot. Same rule applies to special weapons. If you show it, it must be used. So Arya is going to be in the middle of the battle. Question is, will she be killed on this one? I doubt it, because they built her up to be this badass killer too much. So I think she's going to survive. However, she's not going to come out unscathed because her lover, Gendry, is probably going to get it. Why? Why do I think that? If I have to guess, I think Arya's going to be overconfident. She's going to expose herself. Remember that conversation on the previous episode of Gendry saying, "They're bad. They're really, really bad." And Arya being, "Could you be any less useful?" Then saying how she's eager to see the many faces of death and whatnot. So she's clearly overconfident, and I think Gendry's going to have to be there to save her butt, and that's how he's going to get it. He's going to get killed trying to save Arya because consequences, but don't worry about it. If I have to guess, the odds of Arya being pregnant are 90%, just as an educated guess. So, again, Sansa, Arya, survive, Gendry, dead. So far, I got one dead. Let's continue. And I'm going to stick with the ones who are going to be inside the crypts because I think most of them, the odds of them surviving are pretty high. So, let's start with Samwell Tarly. Sam has made no sense in the last few seasons because he was actually pretty successful in the Citadel. I mean, he cured Jorah of Grayscale, which is basically he found a cure for cancer. Then he discovered that there was dragonglass and dragonstone, which, by the way, he should have already known because Stannis told him in the one and only conversation he had with Stannis. And also, do you know who else lived in Dragonstone? Davos, who was right next to Jon the whole time. But let's say, hey, you know what? He forgot. Davos, he's kind of a silly guy. But anyway, he forgot. Either way, he discovered the location of dragonglass. And also, he found the ledger that said that Jon was actually Aegon Targaryen. Well, that ended up leading to that discovery. So, I mean, that was success. And so far, Sam's story up to that point was like, I don't need to be a warrior to be a man. No, I can use my brain. That's why he went to the Citadel. But at one point he decided, no, in order to be a real man, I need to be a fighter. So he had to be more like his father, who threatened to kill him. So he stole his father's sword. And then he gave it away to Jorah, even though he went up there to fight. And by the way, that is a hell of a thing to give up, because for those of you who don't know this, Valyrian steel is extremely rare, and that sword is probably worth more than Winterfell itself. Definitely more than Hornhill, which is the Tarly castle down south. So you can imagine how freaking valuable that thing is, and he just gave it away. Here you go, Jorah. Not only did I save you from grayscale, here's a sword that I stole from my father, and my brother, and my entire house, just to come here to fight. Which I'm not going to do because you're going to do it in my stead, I guess. I don't know. The point is, his character's all over the place. And right before he gave up the sword, he had a fight with Ed and Jon saying, like, has everyone forgotten that I'm the first man to kill a White Walker? I mean, so he was saying he was going to fight, and then he gave up the best weapon he had to fight. I don't understand, Sam. But so far, if we're going with history, he's a craven. He's going to be hiding in the crypts. Or, I'm sorry, he's going to be protecting Gilly and little Sam. So I think he's going to make it. He's probably going to be reading his book somewhere, and he's going to discover something important. So his odds are making it, I say 90%. Also, by consequence, Gilly and little Sam, odds of them making it, 90%. They are in technically the safest spot to be in, and there's really no reason for them to even go face a situation of danger. So they should be safe unless somebody remembers that necromancers can raise the dead and they're hiding in a crypt, which would be so Game of Thrones, by the way. So Game of Thrones. Season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But whatever. I doubt that's going to happen. If it does, I'll be pleasantly surprised. I'd be happy if it happened. I'd be happy if they killed everybody in the crypts because consequences. However, I see it unlikely, so let's move on to another character likely to be hiding in the crypts, which is Varys. I think Varys is going to die. I'm just not sure how, or at least not yet. Because Varys has been pretty much useless for the last few seasons. Like, he literally does nothing. Nothing. What thing has Varys done? Let me think about it. Nope. Not that either. Nope. I can't think of anything. Can you guys think of it? Honestly, I can't think, off the top of my head, I can't think of a single thing he's done other than maybe advise Tyrion or be there as a soundboard for Tyrion. But no, I don't think he's done anything at all. So yeah. I think he'll die, but not eventually. Not in this episode. Not if he's in the crypts. In the crypts, he should be safe, unless they do my little plot twist. But no, he's in the crypts. He should be safe, but he will die before the end. I'm pretty sure. Because that character's dead already. I mean, you remember when he was one of the big players? Back to season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? He was a big player. Now he's just kind of there. So, yeah, he's dead. Not this episode. Odds of surviving still at 90%, just because he's in the crypts. So just to get the last character who's likely to be in the crypts out of the way, Missandei, she's going to be down there. Now, she's more likely than anybody else to leave and try to help Daenerys for some reason, but I doubt it. I think she's going to be in the crypts and she's going to survive. So, I think those are all the characters who are going to be in the crypts. All the characters who are in the crypts are going to survive. But that leads us to everybody else. And since I just spoke of her lover, let's talk about Grey Worm, who's got a big fat X on his face. Dude is deader than dead. I have no idea how he's going to survive, so I don't think he will. I think the dude is dead as a doornail. The goodbye he had with Missandei last episode was way, way, way too sentimental. So, sentimental goodbyes usually lead to deaths. So if I had to put money on it, I would. I think Grey Worm's odds of surviving are under 5%. Maybe even 3%. No, you know what? They made plans for the future. Which means they're dead. Yeah, I'm sticking with that. Less than 3%. Dude's dead. So let's move on from the Grey Worm to the Greyjoy. And I mean Theon. So Theon is going to be in the Godswood protecting Bran for some reason. So he's not technically going to be in the front line. But if Bran's bait, that means that he's very likely to face the Night King himself. So what are the odds? And the Ice Dragon. So what are the odds of him surviving all of that? I think all his Ironborn are dead. But I think it's really weird. They're hinting at a love story with Sansa, which makes no sense, by the way. Because Theon is probably the second biggest reason why his parents and his brothers are dead. Maybe first in some cases. Yeah, because, I mean, he did not set things in motion, but his actions are the ones that directly led to their death. So yeah, you know what? Theon might be the biggest reason why Robb and Catelyn are dead. So I don't understand how she can just be making googly eyes at him. It makes no sense. But anyway, so they have that. They're kind of building up to that. And also there's this whole unresolved thing with her sister where if they decide to retreat to Pike, which I have a theory about that, who are they going to open the door for? Theon. They need Theon for Asha to even care about it. Oh, I'm sorry, Yara. In the show, she's called Yara. But they need him for her to even care about opening the door. Also for the ships. So, even though I don't think he should survive, I'll give him a 60% chance because of plot armor. Anyway, let's move on to the character who's going to be right next to him, Bran. So, if the Night King attacks, and he attacks Bran, then I think this is the episode where Bran becomes the Night King. Like, things are going to get really dire. And in order to try to save everybody, Bran is going to go back in the past, and that's how he accidentally becomes the Night King, which is the ongoing theory that I have that's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. I think it's really stupid, and I have issues with time travel. But I think that's what's most likely to happen. So it's probably going to be like Theon feels like he failed. And does it technically count as Bran dying if he becomes the Night King? No, I don't think it counts like him dying. So he will survive, yet he will become the Night King. Odds of that happening? 50-50? No, I say it's a 70% chance he becomes the Night King on this episode, and that's probably how the episode's going to end. If I have to make an educated guess, that's what I'm going for. So both Bran and Theon survive. So if you're keeping score right now, I got 2 dead plus Ghost. It's Gendry, Grey Worm, plus Ghost. Let's move on. Actually, no, I didn't mention the theory that I had. So a friend of mine mentioned this immediately after the episode ended, and that's when the Army of the Dead is walking up to Winterfell. He was like, dude, imagine if that had been King's Landing. It would have been epic. He said that literally as the episode was ending, and now apparently it's a theory on the internet. So I'm still giving credit to him because I heard it from him first. And so that led me to think, what are the odds of the main army attacking Winterfell, the Night King with his dragon attacking King's Landing, and then so they win in both parts, so they all have to escape and meet up at Harrenhal. But Harrenhal is a giant castle that everybody forgot exists, so they would probably meet up at Pike. And that's where they try to, be safe, because Euron Greyjoy would be like, let's go to Pike. And Theon would be like, let's go to Pike. And they'd probably meet up there, and that's going to be the final stand, and then they'll deal with all their issues. If I have to guess, that's my theory. That's how I think it's going to go. But again, just a theory. Don't attack me. This is not a spoiler. It's just a theory, and it's kind of looking that way. I'm sorry for... If it's a good guess, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being really good at guessing at things. But I'm probably wrong. Anyway, if that situation happens, that means that the Army of the Dead won in Winterfell because Bran became the Night King in the past. So he traveled back in the past and became the Night King, and he was their best shot to beating the Army of the Dead. So I had to mention that. Otherwise, certain things might not have made sense. But okay. Let's get back to the death list. And here's where things get fun, because the only characters left are characters that are supposed to be in the battle in one form or the other. At least they're supposed to be out there. Maybe not the front lines, but they're supposed to be out there. So let's begin with the former Hand of Two Kings, Sir Davos Seaworth. I don't know if he's still the Hand. I don't know if it counts because Jon's no longer a king. But anyway, the right-hand man of the Warden of the North, Sir Davos Seaworth, the Onion Knight. I think it's very likely that he's going to be standing next to Jon, who's going to be standing next to a dragon at this point. So I don't see him. I don't see him dying. He's going to be pretty far off from the action. And I think, let me see if I can picture this. There's going to be tension between Jon and Daenerys because, Daenerys thinks that now Jon maybe wants to usurp the throne from her. And so Davos is going to be kind of awkwardly trying to make peace there or be stuck in the middle. And he's going to suggest at one point, like, how about the two of you just get married then? Seems like a simple solution for the two people who are chasing the same throne and have an almost equal claim but are in love with each other. Also, you're both single, so I don't really see a problem with it. No, that'd be too easy. Maybe Davos will get killed off, because that just seems like too practical a solution. I don't know. Anyway, Davos' chances of making it, 75%, not 80%. I'll give him an 80% chance of surviving. But okay, that's the dude who's going to be the furthest from the action. Let's go to the front line. So let's begin with a character nobody cares about. Dolores Ed. Poor old Edison Tollett, the current commander of the Night's Watch. Or I guess, former commander? I don't think the Night's Watch exists anymore because the wall has fallen. So, I don't know. Let's give him the title of commander of the Night's Watch. Why not? Point is, that dude, nobody cares about him, so he's deader than dead. They need cannon fodder for this episode. They need characters with names that they can kill off, and I think this dude's number one on the list. Numero uno. Dude is worm food. Chances of him making it, less than 1%. There's a better chance that I won't bitch about something that happened on this episode than there is of Dolores Ed surviving. I'll just put it to you that way, okay? Why do I think that? Well, who cares? And that's precisely why I think he's dead. Because nobody cares about Dolores Ed. So he's a goner. Let's move on to somebody else that nobody cares about. Bronze John Royce, who for some reason does not wear bronze armor, and it pisses me off. But anyway, I doubt anybody knows who that even is, but he's the commander of the Veil Forces. He's the old guy you can usually see talking to Sansa about something. I don't know. I don't even think he's had any lines this season. But they need somebody to explain why the Veil Forces are there. And he's the only real link to the Veil Forces, unless they want to bring Sweet Robin back, which wouldn't make any sense at this point. So I think he makes it. His odds of surviving are 65%, which is not great, but it's good enough to survive. So there you go. So moving on to Jorah Mormont, who just got Heartsbane, one of the most kick-ass Valyrian steel swords out there. He's going to be on the front line. He has to be on the front line. If you've got a Valyrian steel longsword, you have to be out there. Now, what are his chances of making it? Jorah has been in a fight against the undead before and survived against way worse odds. And now he actually has a legit weapon. So I think Jorah makes it. He's going to be in the front line, but he knows what he's doing. So I think he survives this one. His odds are 55%, which is enough to survive. So I think Jorah Mormont's still going to be kicking. And honestly, I think he's going to survive the series. I don't know why. I think he's not going to get a tragic death. I think his life's been sad enough. Anyway, moving on to the other Mormont, Lyanna Mormont, who I hate, but I think she's going to make it. She's a fan favorite for some stupid reason. People like her. And for some reason, she's the only one of the Northern Lords to have any lines. So she's the voice of the North for some stupid reason. So yeah, I don't think they'll kill her off just yet. Odds of making it, 75%. In fact, I don't think she's even going to appear in the whole episode, but I think she'll survive. So let's move on to Sir Beric Dondarrion, the Lightning Lord. For those of you who don't remember, that's the guy who fights with a fire sword. His chances of making it, 10%. I don't think he makes it. Dude survived enough. He's already technically an undead. He looks badass with his fire sword, but I think this is where the road ends. I think he's gone far enough. He's survived, well, not really survived, long enough. I think this is it. This is over. This is where we say goodbye, Beric Dondarrion. Your story really doesn't have anything more to do now. I think he'll die in an epic fashion. I think he'll go down swinging, but go down nonetheless. So long, Beric Dondarrion. We hardly knew ye. And this brings us to his bestie, the Hound. So I think the Hound's going to make it in this one, and I think him and Beric Dondarrion are going to be fighting almost back-to-back, which makes really no sense because the Hound's supposed to be afraid of fire, but whatever, that doesn't matter anymore. And like I said, he's going to be near Beric Dondarrion, but the reason he survives, and literally the only reason I think the Hound survives, is because the fans demand a Clegane Bowl. Everybody expects it. Everybody wants him to fight the Mountain. So just because of that, because the fans want it so much, I think is the only reason why Clegane survives. Because the plot doesn't really demand it. I think it's the fans who demand it. It's the fans who want it. And I think the producers are going to give it to him. So honestly, I think he makes it just because of that. So the odds of Clegane coming out are 90% just because of that. The plot is going to protect him. This is not how he goes down. Next up, we have Tormund Giantsbane. And honestly, Tormund was probably the brightest spot of last episode. He's extremely funny. He's extremely fun to watch. So I think he makes it. Let me think about that for a second. Yeah, I think Tormund makes it. He's a fan favorite. People like him too much. He's one of the characters that has the most experience fighting White Walkers, going all the way back to Hardhome and then the Lake episode last season. So he has a lot of experience, and he's a proven fighter. Plus, I think he's the commander of all the Wildling forces. So if you get rid of him, it wouldn't make much sense who commands the Wildlings anymore. So I think that's going to save him. So odds of Tormund surviving, 60%. So he makes it. Which leaves us with... Brienne of Tarth and Podrick Payne. One of these two is going to eat it hard. But which one? Because both of them kind of did things that traditionally in film, after they're done, leads to your death. In the case of Podrick Payne, is he displayed a beautiful singing voice, which kind of leads to, the whole swan song thing, that was his last song. And Brienne kind of finished her story arc. Brienne's story is all about getting respect in a man's profession. She's literally a woman trying to make it in one of the manliest professions out there. And in the last episode, she got knighted by one of the men she respects the most. So she finally got the respect that she was looking forward to her entire life. That's what she wanted. She wanted the respect. So that kind of closes her whole story arc. There's nothing more for her to do than to die tragically and gloriously. So which one of these two gets it? If I have to guess, I think this is how it's going to go. Jaime's going to be in the middle of the battle. He's going to be struggling because he doesn't have a fucking hand. So Brienne comes out to try to save him. She gets injured in the process, but Podrick comes in, starts helping her. He looks like he's about to be overwhelmed, but Brienne rallies, goes out there, manages to save Pod. They're still struggling, but all of a sudden, Tormund and the Wildlings come in to help them out. They save him and continue their advance to give him a little room to breathe. And it's at that point where Brienne realizes that her wound was deeper than she expected. So she falls down in Jaime's arms. Jaime's desperately trying to save her, but he can't. There's nothing he can do. There's nobody around to help. Brienne tells him to calm down, that she's happy, that he made her happy. She's dying a knight. Podrick holds her hand and sings her one last song as she slowly passes away, smiling. Then Tormund comes up, happy because he thinks he saved his girl, and now she's going to want him. And it turns out she's dead, which devastates him and makes him go berserk into battle once again. Anyway, I'm getting too far into this. The point was, I think the last one to die is going to be Brienne. So for those of you who haven't been keeping score, the characters that I think are going to die on the next episode of Game of Thrones, the 5 characters who I think are going to be killed are Brienne of Tarth, Beric Dondarrion, Dolorous Edd, Grey Worm, and Gendry. Also, bonus, Ghost. Those are the ones that I think have no chance of making it out alive of the next episode of Game of Thrones. Boom. So there you have it. Oh, God, that was a long one. I went too deep into that. I went way too deep on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I was wrong in any of these things. I threw a bunch of theories out there. Maybe some of them are stupid. I don't know. Give me your thoughts. As always, you can contact me at Dario the Show on Instagram. Send me your comments, questions, suggestions there. It's always extremely helpful to get feedback. I really appreciate it. So please keep it coming. And get ready, because next Monday, after I watch the episode of Game of Thrones, I'm going to be doing my usual review with The Good, the Bad, and the Martin. So get ready for that. Thank you for listening. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you Monday.